And ultimately, I think it's fair to say that your social media and your approach to it is very much trying to equip others with the toolkits that you've learned from a clinical point of view. And that's obviously the thread of DNA that runs through the book and is testament to you and the team. It is so clear and easy to apply in terms of placing it within the context of your own life. And I think that's what the book does best from my perspective. So those toolkits that you speak about and trying to equip people with through social media and in the book itself, what are the universal ones? What are the ones that you think are most applicable to those of us in the Western world that have just got that day-to-day mental health management that we need to work on a little bit more?
I would say, starting from that center point of recognizing that you do not have to be at the mercy of your emotional state, that there are things you can do to influence and bring down the intensity of painful emotion. And a lot of people, I think, maybe come along to therapy and that feels like news. That feel what? I get to, do things to impact on how I feel. That's a really big deal. And because you then don't feel that you're in the hands of whatever doctor or therapist you see either. This is your journey and you're working on it. And that there are these tools that can help. And it doesn't mean to say that you will have a problem-free life and you will never feel painful emotion again. It's that when life throws its terrible stuff at you, as it does every now and then, you've got something to work on it with. So, for me, one of the sort of really helpful things about an approach like CBT, for example, is just this basic idea that there is no on and off switch for emotions, right? That would be really great if we could wake up and decide today I want to feel love and excitement, and then it would just happen. We can't do that. But how we feel is so heavily influenced by what we do, what we don't do, whether we act on urges or not, the thoughts that we give our time and attention to and buy into, or whether we turn our attention to other things, how we talk to ourselves in our heads, all of those thought processes, and how we treat our bodies and those sort of physical sensations. So we can use those three other things. So what your behavior, your thoughts, and your physical state. You can use those three to influence how you feel, because the four of them are so closely entwined. They're like weaves in a basket, and if you're not self-aware, you don't really experience them as the weaves. You experience the basket as a whole, right? You just have this experience that feels overwhelming. And often the process in therapy is about pulling some of those weaves out and going, right, this was the experience, but what was going through your head at the time? Or what was the thought process? Or what were you believing? And how much were you believing in the thoughts that arrived? And, what were you doing? Or what was the urge to do? And did you follow that urge, or did you go against it? And how did that impact on how you feel? And you start to see this pattern of how these weaves fit together to make that experience. And then you can start to look at, okay, well, here's the exit to this vicious cycle. When I do this, things feel different. And when I do that, I feel more stuck. And it just opens, not in a self-critical way, but in a curious way, that it all becomes a bit of an experiment. I know that when I do this, I have a better day. And I know when I do that, things get worse. I feel good in the short term, but I feel worse in the long term, and those kind of things. So it becomes this process of sort of learning about yourself and how you work that can just keep going. And I think there isn't this kind of like one skill that makes everything okay. It's that process of constantly learning about yourself and what works, and the commitment to keep going on that journey, I think.